And on that note, we welcome my friend Frank Gaffney from the Center for Security Policy. Frank, good to have you on.
Thank you, Lars. Great to be here.
So the president is off at the NATO meeting, and of course, I think even the folks at Fox have gone a little over the line. I was noticing, because in the studios, I usually have the Chicken Noodle News Network up on one and Fox on the other one, and Fox was running a crawl at the bottom that said, "Tensions rise as President Trump arrives at NATO summit." And I thought, well, I guess you might be tense if you're not paying your fair share and America is. That might make you feel tense. What else is there to feel tense about for the members of NATO?
I think they don't know what to make of Donald Trump, is the simple truth of the matter. He has definitely compelled them to do what they have refused to do to this point, which is to increase defense spending. I think they're very uneasy about what he's going to do with Vladimir Putin, who is, after all, the principal cause of the need for additional defense spending. But there's something else that they should be very tense about, Lars, and I don't know whether anybody's going to acknowledge it, let alone propose to do anything about it. But there's a deep, deep problem in NATO at the moment, and that is that they have in their midst a nation that has become extremely hostile to NATO. I'm talking about Turkey. Under this President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, as you know, a rabid Sharia supremacist.
Yep.
It has become more and more aligned with Russia, but not just Russia, with China, with Iran, with Qatar, and other Sharia supremacists, including ISIS, for heaven's sakes, and Al-Qaeda. These are people who, not people, I think the Turkish people are by and large, as they have long been, more friendly than hostile. Mm-hmm. But he is doing his level best to make them into people who consider the West and the United States in particular as enemies. And that is a serious problem at a time when we're sending our frontline F-35 fighters there. We're sharing intelligence with them. We're legitimating the government of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. And that would make me very tense if it's going on and nobody can mention it, nobody can try to do anything about it, which is, I'm afraid, what's the case.
Is it time to boot Turkey out of NATO? And would that bring them back into line? Would the threat bring them back into line?
It's past time to do that. It's just there is no mechanism for accomplishing it. And that's part of the reason why nobody's talking about it. I don't know if you caught this. Kay Bailey Hutchison, former senator from Texas, is now the U.S. ambassador to NATO. She was on one, at least, of the Sunday shows this weekend, and she was enthusing about what an ally Turkey is. I mean, this is delusional, and I'm afraid misleading a lot of people into thinking all's well here. But there isn't a mechanism. The most that I think we can do, and should at the moment, is serve notice on the Turks that they're not going to be treated like a Class A member, getting access to the intelligence, getting access to the technology, getting access to, as I say, the political legitimacy. That, I think, could have a salutary effect. But frankly, Erdogan's dream, which is becoming more and more clear, is to reconstitute the Ottoman Empire with himself as the new caliphate, the caliph, I should say. And that is a serious problem on a whole host of levels.
Well, so that may be our only mechanism for doing it. Is there any way we can, well, do we have any mechanism, if they've got the F-35s already, if they're being delivered, do we have the ability to say to them, you're not going to get continuing support for those aircraft if you begin to use them in ways that are counter to the best interests of the United States?
Yeah, that's the advantage of selling our hardware to foreign nations. It's just in this case where, as you probably have heard, Lars, the Turks are buying the S-400 surface-to-air missile system from the Russians. And the trouble with that is it's exceedingly unlikely that we will not have the wholesale compromise, if it hasn't already, the wholesale compromise of our frontline fighter for what's projected to be the next 30 years by that kind of arrangement with the Russians manning those, or at least training them up on the use of these anti-aircraft missile systems, and otherwise compromising our most sensitive technology and other secrets. They have not taken delivery, as far as I know, of any of these. I believe the first of them they're beginning to train with, I think, in a base in the United States. But it's a matter of time before they're flown out of the country and delivered to Turkey, and that shouldn't happen, in my estimation, as long as Erdogan's doing what he's doing now.
Frank, before we run out of time, I want you to talk about a scandal that you think was not given a lot of a notice because of all the excitement over the replacement of a Supreme Court Associate Justice. You believe that this one kind of got buried by the swamp.
Well, the swamp has been actively working to bury this, what's been called the House IT scandal, the information technology scandal. Lars, what I believe has happened here, and I think there's some compelling evidence. I commend to everybody who's interested in this, the writing about it by Luke Rosiak at the Daily Caller. He has been documenting what has happened as a result of a ring of Pakistani nationals, I believe working for Pakistani intelligence, who got inside the wire of dozens of House Democrats' offices, their computer systems, their emails, their official correspondence, their other IT traffic about, including, it's almost certainly the case, sensitive information of the House of Representatives. And the Democrats who would otherwise be horribly embarrassed by this have chosen, surprise, surprise, not to press charges against these guys.
Is it their call, or
Department of Justice dropped it?
I was going to say, why is it their call? Could Jeff Sessions have said we need to have this looked into?
I think he could, almost certainly, and it would have been helped along had Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, or anybody else in the House leadership, Republican leadership, said, we need to get to the bottom of this because this is a scandal. I've been told, Lars, get this, that with a plea agreement that got the ringleader of this deal essentially off on probation on a charge of bank fraud, for heaven's sakes, is possibly going to allow these guys to be rehired.
That's insane. Frank Gaffney, founder and president of the Center for Security Policy. Frank, thank you very much.